Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hey, Aaron, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to have you back again and back on the call. It's been a few weeks and or it seems like it's been at least a week and a lot seems like there's been a lot happening.
Well, I guess so. What do you mean? I mean, certainly there's a lot happening to me. I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like the same kind of stuff that's been going on is just kind of continuing.
Okay. Well, I guess for me as someone newer to the BSV space, that it seems like I mean, the price spiked up to almost 500. Now it's back down to 300. There's this someone on Twitter named the Night Fox who claims to be Satoshi, who's had some pretty interesting price predictions. But yeah, for someone like you who's been around it a while, it's probably the same old stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, the price is always crazy. There's, I mean, it does crazy stuff. I wouldn't really pay attention to somebody who's making price predictions. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, yeah. So today around my lunch hour, I put out on Twitch and on Twitter that we'd be recording a podcast today, and asked if anyone had any questions. I know that we like to get into some of the more theoretical stuff around Austrian economics, but I picked out a couple of the questions if you're open to going into those a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so one person asks, do you have a favorite token in the BSV protocol?
The Satoshi.
How about when can we expect BoostPow to get back up and running?
Good question. I've been trying to work on a BoostPow miner that anybody can use. I mean, if somebody wants to do something with it, we can probably have it working more quickly. I mean, anybody can provide the service, and it would just be a lot better if somebody else just did it because they thought there was going to be money in it. So it would be better if I didn't know about it and you were just doing it and trying to compete with me to provide the service. But what I've been doing the last year is kind of trying to explain to people why they would want it, which wasn't what I thought would happen.
Okay.
But um, yeah, I've almost got my. I've worked through a lot of details in my Bitcoin library, so you know, pretty soon, like my ability to do more and more stuff is increasing each day. Um, but it's taken me a really long time to understand everything about the Bitcoin protocol, and there's also so much else going on. It's been hard to make progress on it.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about this token or blockchain called Solana, and I guess other blockchains in general? Are those something that you pay attention to?
No, not really. I mean, I think that if you understood the point of Bitcoin, you would also understand that we don't need other blockchains, and you would also know that most of the other ones just don't really work. So I think Solaris, that's what it's called, right?
Oh, okay. I thought it was called Solana, but it could be
Oh
Solaris.
no, no, I don't remember. I know people have been talking about it. It's so Solana, whatever it is. I've heard that is another proof of stake system, and that's that's just never going to work. Like every proof of stake system is about maintaining surreptitious control while creating the superficial appearance of being a distributed system that's controlled by the users. I mean, when you talk about these theoretical issues with Austrian economics, I mean, they're theoretical in the sense that we're talking about them in terms of, you know, purely hypothetical states. So we want to talk about like the value of money or something without regard to anything specific about the world as it is right now. But these issues are really important in the real world. So right now, what we have with all of these blockchains is a way for people to risk their own money on political ideas or ideas on how society should be constituted. A proof of stake system is kind of like a democracy, or maybe kind of like a corporation. And the difference between, well, the difference is that you can choose where to put your money. So it's not like you just have to go along with what everybody thinks. You really have choices about where you want to go. And the problem with that is, because pretty much anything goes right now in these markets, people can create societies that will destroy themselves, and then the people involved in them will lose all of their money on it. Because when you buy these coins, there's a bet on the survivability of the system. It's a bet that this society is going to continue on. But if you don't know what a good society really is, then you just don't know what is a good bet. So to me, I think calling these issues theoretical has the there's the potential danger that people will think that they're irrelevant, but really they're sort of the first step in not losing everything in these markets. But yeah, I ignore anything that says it's proof of stake, and I mean, I think anything that's like an altcoin or like restarting Bitcoin is a failed venture from the get-go, because like the value of Bitcoin really has to do with the economy that is built around it, and that's something that grows over time. And people who got started first just have a head start. And you can't grow an economy just by copying ideas. You have to actually build working things, that actually produce things that people want. So I think that that's a very important idea that has not been understood very well. So I mean, it kind of started with Litecoin, I guess, because Charlie Lee said that Litecoin is the silver to Bitcoin's gold.
Right.
And but really, like, it would be better for everybody if everybody in Litecoin just joined Bitcoin and tried to make Bitcoin successful. I mean, I think when you create these new coins, what you're really doing is joining a zero-sum game. You're adding yourself as a competitor to a game that ultimately only one can win. So it's like you want to be the Highlander without understanding that the Highlanders all have to kill each other until there's just one left. And what we've had in the crypto markets for a while is an unwillingness to truly compete with one another, because people are going after the money that's available in the speculative bubble. And the bubble is sort of based on it's you don't really need to understand anything in the short term to make money off the bubble, but eventually the market is going to understand everything, or all knowledge will eventually become understood by the market, and then it's going to be a lot harder to make money because the market will be thinking ahead, and you won't be able to just do something that won't really work in a few years anymore. People will know what works and what doesn't work. Anyway, I think it's much better to just help make Bitcoin successful than to try to make a competing system, because then all of our energies are synergistic with one another, and we all benefit from each other instead of being against one another.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Last time we had kind of ended the conversation, and you had mentioned that you really wanted to get to the ideas of entrepreneurship, profits and losses, and the socialist calculation problem. You think that those would still be good ideas to tackle?
Yeah. Well, I was going to review some stuff first, so let me quick go over a few things. So first of all, I mean, some people think that I'm a philosopher, but really that's what I do in my spare time. And what I'm actually good at that's really going to help Bitcoin succeed is as an economist. And so far I've had a lot of trouble conveying to people that economics is really important. I mean, to me, economics tells us about the nature of success. So it's kind of like where it's kind of like knowing where we're going on our journey. And so right now it seems to me like people have set off on a journey without knowing where they're going. So I think there's kind of been an important step that was missing. But I had to do videos that are about philosophy because people forgot what is important in life. So there were some some bigger issues to tackle first. I mean, I think that, like, if somebody is like a gambling addict or something, then it's kind of like they've forgotten, like, they're motivated by things that are divorced from life, and they're doing something that's really going to kill them eventually. And I just needed to find people who weren't like that in this market. There were so many people who were kind of brainwashed and who didn't genuinely want to think about success, that I had to kind of put out a distress call to find anybody who wasn't brainwashed. But economics is what I would have actually wanted to do. So last time you asked me a question on who understands Austrian economics, so I'd like to go back to that real quick. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think what I was trying to say is I think that there's a lot of opportunity in Bitcoin for people who actually understand economics. And right now, I don't think that I would say that there's almost nobody who seems to understand economics. So the Austrian economists don't understand economics because they didn't want to get into Bitcoin and they wanted to stay professors. They didn't recognize the opportunity. So what we really need are economists who also want to be entrepreneurs. So economists who want to take risk on their ideas. So not people who want to be tenured professors, people who want to risk money based on what they think about economics. So in other words, like, if I'm wrong about economics, then I want to lose money. And we want people like that who are thinking that way. See what I mean?
Is this like the idea of skin in the game?
Yeah. Well, I mean, these Austrian economics who supposedly understand economics, or these Austrian economists, are not doing anything to promote the success of Bitcoin. Despite the fact that, given what they ought to know, they really ought to desire that success really badly, I would think. And they would want to, they would also see the potential benefit of the success of Bitcoin to them, because of how wealthy it can make you. But I don't really know of any I don't know of any economics professors who quit their job to get into Bitcoin. But the Austrians in particular, I think, ought to have understood this and would have wanted to quit what they were doing to work on Bitcoin. I mean, to me, Bitcoin is the most important thing going on in the world right now, and you're really doing a lot more to make the world better by promoting the success of Bitcoin than most other things that you could be doing. But the people in Bitcoin do not understand Austrian economics, as far as I can tell, either. So if somebody is an entrepreneur in Bitcoin, that doesn't mean that they understand Austrian economics either. I think that there's a big opportunity that is not being sufficiently pursued in Austrian economics and Bitcoin that could be pursued if people were to understand it better. And I would say that Craig Wright seems to understand Austrian economics. And I mentioned that because you asked me last time if the entrepreneurs in Bitcoin know Austrian economics. And I said, no, they don't. But I think he's an entrepreneur, and I think he does understand it. But he hasn't really explained it to people, as far as I know. He's just said some things that lead me to believe that he knows it pretty well. So in particular, there's a discussion he did on whale pool, or on whale something. Now I don't remember. There's like a show where these whales or something, they talk about crypto things. Anyway, he was on it, and he said you're not a real Austrian if you're for bimetallism. And so to me, that shows that he understands some of the most important core conclusions of Austrian economics that that I think many other people have missed. So well, let me give an example of somebody else. So Jeff Tucker wrote an article a while back about how he loves altcoins and how the market solves all problems, and it's great for people to experiment and make whatever nonsense they want. But I mean, I think that there's a real problem with this view. I mean, not to say that the market won't eventually sort things out, but like the whole, like the way that money is an essential part of the way that markets benefit us. Money is kind of what makes people want to work for each other. And the problem of socialism, according to Mises, has to do with the lack of a profit and loss system that occurs in a socialist economy. So when we lack a profit and loss system, what we lack is an idea of efficiency. And that means that we lack a way of thinking about like what is the most important thing we need now? Like what is the best benefit that we can get for the least cost? And if we don't have a way of answering that or thinking about it even, then we cannot have a system that gets better over time, because we will not have people who are we will not have optimization. See, we won't have some kind of progression towards greater efficiency if we don't know what efficiency is. So if we have a bunch of competing monies, what we have are competing definitions of efficiency, or competing concepts of efficiency. So not as bad as socialism, where we have no concept of efficiency, but still bad because we have a disagreement about efficiency, and we have people who are working at cross purposes to one another. Whereas if we have one money, then everybody is working for each other. And so a market with competing monies is not a wonderful market that solves all problems. Really, it's a market that that will cause a lot of problems until people can settle on one money. So, I mean, that doesn't mean I don't think we should have free competition and experimentation and all of these things. But I think that people are not being realistic about, you know, what's really going on with all of these competing coins and things. What I think we would want is to figure out what money we're all going to use as quickly as possible, because that's when things actually start to get better instead of worse. I think that if you just say that markets are all wonderful, you know, you're kind of, I think we could be like, I think we could be moving to something that's going to benefit us all a lot much more quickly by understanding these things in economics and not just glossing over them.
Yeah. What you're saying reminds me a little bit of an article that I read by Hans-Hermann Hoppe, where he talks about the differences between empiricism and analytic truths, where it sounds like you're saying having the best money in one money is an analytic truth that is, to your mind, very obvious that there should be one money for the world that we can all use. Where someone like Jeff Tucker might be arguing, well, no, you actually have to test this out and see which one wins, and have a lot of different experiments. Do you think that that's a true comparison?
Well, I don't know. I mean, presumably Jeff Tucker has read all of these same Austrian books that I have, so I think that if we asked him, he would agree with me that the equilibrium outcome is that there's going to be one money. But I mean, I guess where we would disagree is that I would be unhappy if we are moving away from that equilibrium or not moving towards it quickly enough. And I would say that a market in which the participants don't understand that that's the eventual outcome and who are trying to avoid it is a really bad sign. I mean, the reason the market works is because people compete over their knowledge. And you know, the money kind of moves into the hands of people who have more knowledge over time. But what we have now is a market where people are trying to avoid knowledge. And that doesn't mean that the market won't work. But I mean, I think that I think that an economist should be able to recognize the problem. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that you should be able to say that the market isn't working very well, or certainly not as well as I would like. And so, I mean, what I would like, or how I would like people to, you know, respond to what's happening now is to recognize that there's an opportunity in approaching equilibrium. So in other words, try to be one of the people who is going to get a lot of money by knowing more. And so I think that I think that we can just do a lot better by knowing more and by being more strategic in general. And you know, I just don't think that, I mean, like if you know that there's an opportunity in approaching equilibrium, I mean, you might not want to tell people about it. But I've kind of had a problem in Bitcoin where, like, it just would be a lot better if there were, some people who were really trying to think strategically about all this. And so, well, I mean, things have gotten a lot better, but I think that well, I think there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Do you think that there are barriers, insurmountable barriers that people see, or like say some of these Austrian economists that, or is it a lack of courage, or is it what you're saying, just a lack of understanding that they really don't understand the theories that they're espousing?
Well, I think it's a little both. I mean, I don't know what is going on in the minds of these economists, but I mean, what I've seen is that the Austrian economists that I've known, they will be able to answer questions about the theory of money correctly, but most of the discussion on economics that goes on is not really about the theory of money, so it's not really central to what they're usually talking about. And there's also some kind of like emotional disconnect, I think, because I've seen a lot of Austrians who seem like they can't think about money as anything other than gold, even though the theory isn't really about gold. It's really about anything that could be money. So so I've had a lot of so I mean so I guess I would say that there is a lack of knowledge because the theory of money does not seem to be fully integrated with their action, even though I think they probably understand the theory of money. But I would also say that many people who say that they are Austrians just don't know the theory of money, because that's kind of an advanced topic, I guess. Like, I would say Peter Schiff has never shown that he understands the theory of money to me, and so he's good on some things on economics, but whenever he tries to talk about money, he just talks about gold, and it doesn't seem like he has a theory beyond that. And yeah, lack of courage, I think, is also something. Yeah, I mean, so just like I said, like if you're an economist, and you actually think that you know economics, that's kind of what all of these these coins are all about. They're economic systems. So you should be able to, you should be fine saying I want to lose money if I don't know economics because of the potential gains from doing things correctly. But I think that that's not what we've seen in Bitcoin. I mean, there's that saying that fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So I think that that's kind of what we've seen in Bitcoin is people who I would have thought, would have been kind of ideally suited to Bitcoin, kind of avoiding it. And most of the people who got in know so little that they're easily tricked into to doing something completely wrong.
Yeah. Do you think it would be more exciting if we had more people in the BSV space, like say Tom Woods, Bob Murphy, Peter Schiff, Jeff Tucker? Would it be more exciting, or would there just be more progress? I mean, I guess both could potentially happen too.
Well, I mean, I think that it would be much better if the people who are already in BSV just learned economics better than those people. I mean, I think that, like, if you didn't get into Bitcoin, you've proven that you really missed something. Not to say that everyone in Bitcoin actually knows something, but I mean, really, I think Bitcoin is the biggest thing happening right now, and people who are trying to do something else are really limiting their potential in a big way. And I think that if we're trying to get the attention of people like Tom Woods and Peter Schiff, that's really going after people who've shown that they've really missed something. I mean, what we should be doing is trying to be better than those people, which shouldn't be very difficult, given that we already know that they made a really big mistake. So, I mean, I think that I think that people in Bitcoin should be looking to each other. And they should not be trying to get famous people outside of Bitcoin to come in. Because to me, like, if you're already in Bitcoin, you've already shown that you're better than those people. Well, I should say, by not getting in, those people have already shown that they don't know what they're doing. But there's a lot of ways to make big mistakes after you get into Bitcoin too. So
Right.
that is, you're not better just because you got into Bitcoin, but you made a big mistake already by not getting in.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, the people who are in Bitcoin now, among them are people who have the potential to be much greater than Peter Schiff and Tom Woods and so on. And so what I would like is for people in Bitcoin to really understand the theory of money themselves, instead of trying to get endorsements from people who don't really know the theory of money, as far as I can tell.
Right, right. Yeah, that's an interesting outlook. I like that. Can you tell us a little bit, or tell me a little bit about your journey, your entrepreneurial journey, or your journey into Bitcoin, so that we could understand a little bit more how you got so excited about it?
Sure. Well, I mean, I learned about Bitcoin at an event called 3 Day Startup, and I learned about it from Ross Ulbricht, and he was designing the Silk Road at this event, and he didn't tell us that there was going to be an illegal market. He just said he wanted to do an online bazaar for people to sell whatever. And he told me about Bitcoin, but he was not able to explain it to me in a way that I could understand. And he didn't know about proof of work. So I asked him about the regression theorem in Austrian economics, which says that there has to be some initial value for a good to become money. And he was not able to explain to me what this was. So I said that it couldn't really work then. But later, Bitcoin had more of a market going. And from that, I realized that Bitcoin had got around my objection to it. And I didn't know how, but I knew that if it was growing now, then it would be easier for it to grow in the future, because as the Bitcoin economy gets better, then Bitcoin, the good, also becomes better. So I decided to learn all about it, and I didn't really know enough computer science at the time to understand the white paper very well. But I was doing a software engineering degree at the time, so eventually I was able to understand what the white paper was about. And after I completed my degree, I tried to find jobs in Bitcoin that that would promote Bitcoin's success. But unfortunately, the companies that I was involved with for most of the time were all really bad, and they pretty much all fell apart before we were really able to do anything. And so, I mean, I've had a really big problem with evaluating people and understanding who would be good to work with. And I made pretty bad decisions for companies for a while. So the latest thing I've done is I've been involved in founding a mining pool called Matterpool, and we've had some pretty big problems, but so far we haven't completely fallen apart, and it seems like we might be able to keep going for a while from here. So I hope things go well, and I finally do something that's actually successful in Bitcoin, other than just talking about it. But yeah, with Matterpool, I would like to integrate my knowledge of economics and make that a part of the business. I guess I would say companies that I tried to work for in the past did not want to hold Bitcoins very much. And people tended to say that the Bitcoins are very risky. So like I worked for this company called Monero, which has nothing to do with Monero. That was before Monero got started. And they wanted to support users who wanted to invest in Bitcoin, but they didn't want to invest in Bitcoin themselves as a company. And I think that that's a really big mistake. And I think that really like really there's a lot of money just in the coins themselves. And I think it's kind of silly to be a company in Bitcoin that isn't trying to be successful just by holding the coins, because it's so easy. It's like doing something that's more difficult than you need to do. But Bitcoin won't succeed if nobody does anything. So you have to do something as a company. But I think that by understanding the theory of money, we can know about what makes Bitcoin more valuable. So you can do things that are going to promote Bitcoin's success as a company. But so far, I have not. I haven't seen very much of that in. Well, I think that like to me, the economics is kind of like, it's like the navigation system. Well, yeah, it's like what I said. It's like telling us where we want to go. So it feels to me kind of like people are just running around not knowing what they're doing right now. Well, that's kind of what I've been up to in Bitcoin.
Yeah. You mentioned that understanding economics is like our GPS towards understanding money and Bitcoin. What do you think? I guess I'm not sure if this makes sense, but what do you think the biggest barrier for just normal people are in understanding Bitcoin or in using it? Won't the consumer, if they see something that is better, won't they just automatically navigate to it?
Yeah,
better
well,
money?
I mean, it's hard to well, yeah, I mean, but I think I mean, if you're just thinking like a consumer, you're not going to want Bitcoin until there's lots of stuff available for Bitcoin. So you would want there to be lots of stuff that you can buy with it. And right now the economy is pretty small, and I think going after consumers right now just isn't really going to work. I mean, I think that right now we need to be an economy of entrepreneurs, and our Bitcoin economy needs to be based on helping each other to be successful entrepreneurs. But there is, and I mean, there is the potential for using Bitcoin in a system that consumers are going to be interested in without knowing that they're using Bitcoin. But if in that case they're not part of the Bitcoin economy, but that would be like an initial step for getting people in. But someone isn't really a part of the Bitcoin economy unless they're trying to earn Bitcoins instead of just spending them. I mean, that's usually like the first question people ask me when I talk about Bitcoin is what can I buy with it? But someone who's really going to be a big benefit to Bitcoin now is someone who would want to earn it.
Right.
So I think we should be trying to wade through all of the people who ask about what can I buy with it to try to find the rare person who's going to ask how can I earn it, because that's who we really need right now.
Yeah. What do you see as some of the most exciting projects that are out there right now in Bitcoin?
I don't know. I'm most excited by what I'm working on, which is a proof of work service. And to me, this is something that we sorely need. Well, I mean, I think it's really it's really the biggest thing that we need after the Bitcoin service itself. So, I mean, right now there's still problems with SPV mode in Bitcoin, and it would be great if we were actually, if we had the infrastructure built to use that correctly. But after that, I think what we would need is a proof of work service. And the proof of work service, well, you know what I said earlier. Remember I said, like, if somebody is saying that there's an opportunity, why would you listen to him? Because you would think that if he really knew there was an opportunity, he would want to keep quiet about it. So earlier I said I thought that there was a big opportunity in more people understanding Austrian economics. So what we can have with the proof of work service is we can have me saying that there is a big opportunity in understanding economics without the suspicion that that I'm saying this as some kind of scheme to manipulate the market. You see what I mean? Like, like what you would worry about from somebody who's saying that there's an opportunity is that they're trying to lure people into a fake opportunity, like a multi-level marketing scheme or something like that. And you would expect somebody who knows a real opportunity to stay quiet because he would want to make the money. But what I kind of have had a problem with is finding collaborators who are going to kind of like understand what I think promoting success is, and who are going to want to do something with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with the proof of work service, what you can see that somebody has provably spent energy in order to say something. So that reduces the potential benefit of being a scam artist. And it means that it's more like if people were all attaching proof of work to their ideas, the optimal strategy is really to just tell people good ideas and not to tell them tricks to manipulate them, because there's more risk with manipulation, because people might not be fooled and they might not do it. Whereas if you're just telling people good ideas, then there's less risk of if you're just making a better offer, then you can expect better outcomes. The problem is that because that people with bad offers are also better at gaining attention when there's cheap talk, because they're better at inciting your emotions, and they're better at connecting to your greed or something like that. But if we all had to attach proof of work to things, then we increase the risk of being a manipulator relative to being an honest actor who's making a good offer. And so what I would like to be able to do is to tell people what I think good ideas are, and actually being listened to really carefully, so that people understand what I'm talking about really carefully. And what I see happening in Bitcoin is that there's just an endless distraction from other kinds of ideas. And like if I try to talk about the value of money, I get I don't get as much attention as someone who's inventing a new altcoin that can do that supposedly can do amazing things when really it probably can't, like Solana, like what we were talking about earlier. Like, I think that that's something that everybody is talking about that's not really worth talking about. And like I just don't think that there's ever been a time in Bitcoin when the stuff that people were talking about is kind of what I want to talk about. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
when we get this proof of work service, then that'll change that. And the stuff that everybody is talking about is stuff that's actually good, like what I talk about. And also the proof of work service will increase profits throughout the whole economy, because the entrepreneurs will have a much better idea about what needs to be built. So we'll have a much greater efficiency in terms of promoting the success of Bitcoin, because people will just have a much better idea about what is successful.
Yeah, I mean, I love that idea. What kind of collaborators, skills would you need? I mean, like someone who's good at educating, someone who's good at computer science and coding. What kind of things are you looking for?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that I would really like to see a good open source community in Bitcoin. I think that people should want to build software that benefits the economy, and this software does not need to be part of some like Bitcoin itself is an enterprise. And everybody can be a part of it without necessarily being part of some smaller enterprise within Bitcoin. So I think that people should just want to make the Bitcoin economy better, because their Bitcoins will go up. And so I've been really kind of surprised about, well, so first of all, I mean, the existing open source communities have not really understood this and not really got very interested in Bitcoin. So that's disappointed me a lot. And another thing that we've seen, I think, is people who understand how to program have been fooled by Bitcoin Core a lot. So when we had these splits in Bitcoin, we had a lot of programming talent that kind of got waylaid. So now it's not useful anymore. So in particular, there was this this library called libbitcoin that I was trying to learn how to use a while back, but the people involved with it stuck with the Bitcoin Core system instead of instead of focusing on something that could actually be successful. And it just seems like they didn't understand enough to know what they should be working on. And those guys are very good programmers, so that was a really big loss, I think. But I mean, I think that what we've seen in Bitcoin is people who can program are treated like they're much greater than they really are, because they're the ones who are able to make a lot of money off of the speculative mania, because they can make things like Ethereum and things that don't really work, but that can really attract a lot of people who don't understand anything with slogans. And so we've seen a lot of the programming talent kind of get ruined, because it's not connected to real knowledge of success. And so I definitely know people who are learning to program, and so that's really great. And I think we'll see some much better progress with a Bitcoin open source community in the future. But I think that just learning the details of the Bitcoin protocol and learning how to actually build things that interact with it, and other related things like websites and things, there's a really big need for that. And right now there's just not I think that I've had a lot of trouble with connecting ideas to reality, because there aren't people who can program, or because people who can program just don't understand why they would want to do something. You know what I mean? So I think that there's a need for people who understand something about success to learn how to program.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, so you got a degree in computer science. I mean, how long does it take to, if someone's listening to this and they're agreeing with what you're saying, how long does it take to learn how to program in such a way that you could add value to Bitcoin? Would you think?
Well, I mean, programming is something that I think anybody can learn, and it's really kind of like writing. It's kind of like something that you get better at over time, and I don't think that it is really as as complicated as its reputation. So I think that programmers in Bitcoin are kind of treated like rock stars or something, when really they should be treated like scribes. I think like they're people who should be who have a skill, um, but they're not people who are like people who should be in charge of things. Like that's sort of uh, that's just completely different. And because I think we've seen that programming is kind of a good thing for people to do who want to pretend to be greater than they really are. And it's sort of like something that not very many people know, and you can put on airs if you can program. But it's really something that anybody can do. It's just not a lot of people have taken an interest in it yet. But to me, programming is kind of like the new literacy. It's kind of like something that everybody should know something about. And I think that you learn more as you make bigger and bigger projects. And there's like, as you do bigger things in programming, you learn how to plan ahead better. I mean, the big danger in programming is designing something that's so complex that at some point you don't understand it yourself anymore. And in order to but you can avoid that by starting small and then gradually making bigger and bigger things. And then you learn about how to design something in a way that's kind of compartmentalized, so different parts of the system deal with certain specific problems, and they kind of you can kind of design a big thing as a bunch of smaller things that are put together carefully. But just getting started, I think you can start with easy things, and we can get a lot done with that, and eventually you can do a lot more. And it takes some practice to get going, but I think the biggest hurdle is just believing that you can do it. And I've seen this from people before who think that they couldn't learn how to program, and then once they actually try it, they think it's a lot of fun. Because it's kind of like it's like Legos or Minecraft or something. It's kind of like little pieces that you can put together into whatever you want. It's very creative and fun. And when people try it, they can find it to be really fun. And yeah, I think it's just something that intimidates people, that doesn't really it doesn't really deserve that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Daniel, I mean that's inspiring to me because I don't know much about programming, but it makes me think that maybe I should try get started on it. But
Okay, well, great.
you've given me a lot to think about, as the last two conversations did as well. But I think we'll wrap it up there. Do you have any final thoughts before we close out?
Well, I was still reviewing the last time. We still didn't really get. I mean, I did talk about some things. Let me finish my review of the last sessions, because there were a couple other things.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about religion, and one thing I should have mentioned is that in the Middle Ages, everybody was competing to build the best cathedral. So that's kind of like a costly signal. Well, I think it is a costly signal. So I don't think Christianity is all bad, but it would be great if we were all competing to build the best cathedral today. That would be a lot better than what's going on right now. So we talked about marginal utility. And I think another thing that needs to be said about marginal utility is that it implies that all costs are opportunity costs. So this is something that's important in Austrian economics. And an opportunity cost is what you don't get to do because of what you did do. And if there isn't an alternative, then there isn't really a cost, because you had no choice. And what you're losing anytime you do anything is just what else you could have had. And so I think that there is well, anyway, that's an important idea. And well, we got to talking about the idea of money as a concept of efficiency, and that's because of the profit and loss system. So that's good. So I guess next time we'll try to talk about the economy. So we'll talk about economic growth and how money fits into that, because you can't really understand the theory of money without understanding the theory of the economy first.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I said we'd try to keep these to an hour, but you just brought up some interesting things, the cathedral and marginal utility. I think those are concepts that we could explore more if you still have some time.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, well, remember last time we said marginal utility means that value has to do with changes to what you already have. So it's not inherent in the good. It has to do with the relationship of the good to the whole. So that's why it's called marginal utility, since it's about small changes. So if we're talking about the marginal utility of money, what that means is, why do you want to hold cash when you could buy stocks, or you could consume? Well, I mean, not just buy stocks. Let's say you could earn income, because you can. There's different things that can earn income, but Austrians usually think of them as basically the same thing. So stocks and bonds both earn interest, or what Austrians call interest. They earn income, and the marginal utility of money has to do with when is holding cash better than earning income, or consuming, which is another thing you can do if you get rid of money, because you can get consumer goods. So if we want to make Bitcoin more valuable, we have to understand why holding cash is better than consuming and earning income.
Right.
And so far, so by contrast, in BTC, they don't want to think about that. They just want to say that holding is better than consuming and earning income, without actually doing the economics. They just want to manipulate people and sort of get people to repeat their slogans instead of really thinking about it. So that's not going to work. What we would want to do is actually understand what makes it better, so that somebody like like Warren Buffett or somebody would be thinking like, why would I want to buy stocks when I could hold Bitcoin? Of course, I don't think he understands the theory of money, so he'll probably never think that. But somebody like that, somebody who's actually thinking strategically. What
do you think it is about? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, remember, marginal utility solves the diamonds versus water paradox. So when we're talking about the value of goods, why is water so cheap and diamonds so valuable, when water is really a lot more important than diamonds? It has to do with, we have so much water that we can afford to use water for unimportant things, even though we also need it for really important things. But it's the last use that we can use water for that is that affects the market value at a given time, not the most important, or not the first thing we would do with water.
Yeah. The concept of marginal also related to trade-offs. I found that understanding and thinking about trade-offs is often really hard for a lot of people. And a lot of times we want to have our cake and eat it too. Do you have any thoughts about why that is so difficult for most of us to understand?
Okay, that's a good question. I don't know. But yeah, marginal utility is about trade-offs. And well,
I mean, if we think about politics and politicians promising to give us things that are for free, or they call for free, and a lot of people don't think about trade-offs in those situations. And sometimes, even in our own lives, we don't think about trade-offs of going one route versus another. Maybe that's just inherent to humans, that we need to think more deeply about trade-offs.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is kind of something that Thomas Sowell says. He says you can destroy most of the liberal policies just by asking about what is the alternative, or what are you losing by doing the policy. And yeah, I mean, our the level of our discussion in politics and in society in general is very low, and it's really not worth engaging in for the most part. Yeah, to me, like, I'm always looking for people who can talk about trade-offs. I mean, to me, what we need is a network of people who are thinking rationally. And we need to kind of ignore the people who are not, because they're just not going to help us very much. And right now we really need to help each other, and that means figuring out who is actually going to be helpful. And a big part of that is being able to think about, well, thinking selfishly, thinking about, like, if you can't maintain yourself, then you certainly can't help other people. So I think searching for people who can think rationally about their own benefit is really the name of the game right now. And as to why most people don't want to do that, that's kind of I'm not the one you should be asking that one. I don't know. Yeah, to me that seems, to me it seems like the world is like an insane asylum, except the doctors and the guards are the most insane.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to figure out who is sane and focusing on those people. And then maybe we can make things better for a while.
Yeah. And then you brought up the cathedral. What can you go more into that? What did you mean by, what was that regarding proof of work, or what was that? What was that about?
So I think, cathedral is kind of like horns for the town. So it's kind of like, so I talked about last time about how Christianity got rid of the sacrifice, but they kind of got it back in the Middle Ages when everybody wanted to build the best cathedral, and all of the towns were competing to have the most impressive one. So a cathedral is like the peacock's tail for a medieval town. And if people are focusing on that, then they have to optimize on providing what they need for each other so that they can all be good workers on the cathedral. And I think that would be really good. But I do think the core idea of Christianity isn't very good. I'm more a fan of Taoism, things like that.
Very good, very good. Well, I think that would be a good place to stop for this time, and we'll definitely meet up again and talk more.
Okay, great. Well, this is the farthest I've got talking about economics with anybody since. Oh, actually, I should have mentioned this earlier about getting into Bitcoin. But when I was, we had a student group at UT that was doing Austrian Economics, and we went through all of this stuff with each other. But unfortunately, most of those guys, those guys got fooled by BTC somehow. So it seemed like they should have known better too, but they didn't. So I don't know. I don't know what is really going to help, but I economics really is only a component of success. And earlier on, I guess I was missing some other important components because I was involved with people who were missing something that I didn't realize that I needed to look for in people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Daniel, thanks again for taking the time tonight. It was great talking with you.
Okay. Well, thanks. Nice talking to you too.